Hey, Gil. You got a question? Shoot. Just for the sole purpose of this video streaming on YouTube after the live is over, if you are catching it on the stream and you don't want to be, sitting around waiting for me to start, I'm going to put a timestamp on in the description box and on the title, so you know where to fly on to if you want to just get into the nitty gritty of the live. Hi, Ty. Um, Gil, what's a Z? Isn't that the last letter of the alphabet? I'm hoping that's the last letter of the alphabet, unless this is some kind of a riddle. But anyone who is catching this on the stream, if you want to just bypass everything, I don't do introductions. I suck at them, especially during a live. It's not like it's a video where you can edit and put things together. I really suck at doing intros. But if you are just interested in getting to the nitty gritty of today's live, then just go to the timestamp that I put in the description box, in the title, and in the comment section. All right, because I know some people, when it comes to lives, it starts off pretty slow, but then it kind of picks up its pace over time. But also, in the meantime, definitely check out the website, narcsurvival101.com. Why, Gil? Why?
What the? Is he starting up already? Do I have to come and moderate?
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Hi, Ty. Hi, sweetie. How are you? How are you? You know you are part of my family. And I'm starting kind of late, guys. I got out of work. Well, actually, I got out of work on time, but I ended up, because of traffic and my Uber driver, my Uber's car getting sideswiped, um, is just a bad end of the day. Okay, I ended up missing my train to get home. And if you're not familiar with New York, I live in Queens, but I work in Long Island, and out there you have to catch the train at a certain time, because if you don't, guess what? You're standing for another hour waiting for another train to come. And I was so beyond pissed because the light where traffic is building up, it stays green for like 2 seconds, and then boom, you're waiting another like 5 minutes. So I ended up missing my train on my way home. Ty, you don't need to feel some kind of way. Don't feel some kind of way. I love everyone in the community, everyone in my vibe tribe. Guys, I wanted to again, welcome to Narc Survival 101. Again, I suck at introductions. I'm just gonna, take it as it comes. But if you're new to the live feed, if you're just kind of, peeking in, this is Narc Survival 101. This is a community for victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, domestic abuse, any kind of relational abuse. What we are here for is to provide you with the answers that you may need to the many questions when it comes to dealing with a narcissistic person or a narcissist. Okay, you could be dealing with someone who's just narcissistic and not necessarily a narcissist. And as I always say, don't focus on the titles, focus on the behaviors, focus on the patterns, focus on the red flags. Today, I'm going to talk about, guys, I actually wanted to touch this because it was kind of, I was actually going through a lot of my old content. And one of the things that I did want to touch on today was triangulation. And I wanted to touch on triangulation because that's one of the biggest, I think one of the biggest things in a relationship with a narcissist when they're committing triangulation. And oh, in case you guys have not, were not notified, I'm hoping that you were if you signed up for the website. My most recent blog, Narcissistic Abuse, is currently up on the website. So if you haven't already, please be sure to check it out. Okay. It gives you the different, details with narcissistic abuse, no matter who it's coming from: family, friends, your lovers, exes, whomever. Okay. Um, and I give, go into bits and pieces of each type of relationship that you may have had. All right. And it gives you a little bit of, what narcissistic abuse is, the type of signs that you should look for in dealing with someone who's narcissistic, whether it be in your romantic relationship or in your family or in your, friends circle. Okay. But understand, guys, narcissistic abuse is very pervasive, meaning it's universal. Okay. It's universal, but it's very blanketed. Okay. And by that, I mean it's general. So whether it be your parent, your girlfriend, your ex-boyfriend, your friend, your coworker, your boss, okay? The abusive behaviors are pretty general, and they're very, it's cut and dry when it comes down to these types of people. But you have to look at the different reasons. That's the only, I mean, not even the only difference, but you would have to look at the reasons why they would perform these behaviors on you, why they would project onto you. Okay. We know in romantic relationships, they perform these behaviors for control, a way to emotionally manipulate you, a way to, make you, it's honestly how I look at it, it's a way to make you soothe their trauma. All right, if that makes sense. You're soothing their trauma and you are becoming their emotional punching bag. Okay, in your relationship with a narcissistic person or a narcissist, I'm just going to say a narcissistic person. In your relationship, you have become an emotional punching bag. And that didn't happen in the very beginning. That didn't happen in the very beginning. In the beginning, it was all love and rainbows and peace signs and all that good stuff. But over time, you'll notice that your confidence deteriorated. You started to question yourself. You started to question your own sanity. Hi, Sky. Hi, sweetheart. You start to, question your own sanity. You start to question your own value. So when you deal with someone who's extremely narcissistic, you're dealing with someone who has had these same behaviors projected onto them and ingrained in their mind to project it onto other people. And, I'm sure most professionals would say that it's a defense mechanism. It's a way to, cope. It's a way to survive because they're in survival mode. But at the end of the day, even if that is the case, it still doesn't make it right. It still doesn't make it right. Okay. And we don't make excuses for people like this because even if you were raised by someone like this, but you actually turned out to be the total opposite of what this type of person is, then we know that there is some form of a fault there when it boils down to the person who received the abuse and is essentially projecting it. But needless to say, these people have serious issues, and needless to say, these people need a lot of help. Okay. And for anyone who's new to the concept, not even, it's not a concept, it's a realization. Anyone who's new to it, who has finally come to terms, who has finally come to, acceptance that the person or the people you have dealt with, this is their nature, this is who they are. Okay. Just understand, and I'm going to keep, repeating this. It did not start with you. It did not start with you. It did not start when you got into the relationship and they automatically became narcissistic or they became a narcissist. Hi, Marissa. I hope I say your name right. I'm so sorry if I butcher it. Thank you so much for that, love. Sky, I noticed I picked a lot of men that represent my dad, act like him, How do I get out of that cycle? Well, remember what I explained before, that when you have your own internal struggles, when you've had your own trauma, when you've had obviously not a connective type of relationship with your parents, whichever, whether it be mom or dad or both, you are basically in search of that love. You're in search of that attention and that validation and that approval that you didn't receive from your parents. And with being in search of that, you're going to come across, because you got to remember, this is a generational curse. Codependency is a generational curse. Narcissism, generational curse. We use that term because it's something that's passed on. It's something that is passed on to, the next generation. And curses are, listen, they're not meant to be around forever. So you have to basically, it stops with you. It stops with you. Now, you have to come into, when I learned about my codependency and I learned that I had all of these fears, I had to, just like I trained my mind, because I coped with a lot. I coped with the idea that everyone's going to abandon me. I coped with the idea that I'm not good enough. Like I kind of reconfirmed these ideas in my mind about myself, which gave me all of these internal struggles. So I had to reprogram my mind to understand that none of it's true. None of it is true. Listen, if you had parents who didn't pay attention to you, or if you had parents who abandoned you emotionally, physically, even spiritual, if they abandoned you and you went and took that on as you're the reason why your parent left, or you're the reason why your parent was, negligent in that they didn't provide for you emotionally, you have to cut that out. You have to, simply because it's not true. It is not true. There is not one child in this world, not one child in this world that can do anything, okay, remotely wrong to warrant their parents abandoning them emotionally, abandoning them physically, okay? There is no child, especially at a very young age. I mean, we're talking toddler. Growing up into, preteens, into adulthood. There's not one child that warrants that, okay? Because a child is innocent. A child does not know better. A child doesn't, can't think like an adult because they're not an adult. So when a parent decides, I am not going to emotionally connect with you, I'm not going to physically be in your life, I'm not going to do any of these things, we automatically take that as, oh, it must be me. I'm not good enough. And the reason you take that and you basically self-project is simply because you don't know any better. You don't know any better. I always say children's minds are like sponges. They absorb everything. And because you don't know any better, you are beating yourself up about it. You're saying to yourself, my dad wasn't in my life. My dad wasn't around. My dad, wasn't here to watch me graduate, or wasn't around to, to help celebrate my achievements, or be there, when I have my first heartbreak, or whatever the case may be. You internalize that and you take that as, what is it about me that's so bad, that's so wrong, that my dad doesn't want to be around me? My dad doesn't want to have anything to do with me. You have to pull yourself out of that, because you first have to figure out what is the actual truth of it. Listen, don't fall asleep to this, the parents abandon their children, because, depending on what type of situation that was going on between your parents, you have to know what the exact truth is. Okay. Especially if you have, and I'm not, this is just for, as an example, if you have the kind of mother that wanted to maintain so much control and wanted to be perceived as the world's greatest mom, you have these mothers who keep the fathers away from their children. They keep the fathers away from their children. And I'm not saying that that's your situation, but this is an example. They keep them away from their children, and the children are seeing, well, dad's not coming around. Dad's not spending time with us. Dad's not coming to visit us. Dad's not coming to our events. You know, he's not being active in our lives. He's not being involved in our lives. And the reality of it is that the moms, these types of mothers, you know, you want to call them narcissistic, you want to call them selfish, controlling, manipulative, maniacal, what have you. These moms are keeping the fathers away from their children. And the children are not being told the truth. And the children are taking that in as, oh, dad doesn't want anything to do with me because of something I did. It's because of something that, you know, there's something about me that repulses them, or, you know, always find out the facts first. Find out the facts first. And if it is the case that your dad, you know, abandoned you simply because they didn't want any part of it, they didn't want to be a dad, or, you know, they're irresponsible, whatever the case may be, just as much as you instilled it in your own mind that you have to fight for approval, you have to fight to feel like you're enough, you have to do more simply to get the bare minimum, you have to instill it in your mind that that person may have rejected me, but it wasn't because of me. It was because of themselves. It was because they were irresponsible. They were selfish. They wanted to be all around town doing whatever the hell they wanted to do, and they lost out. Okay? Because again, why do we take on these negative self-thoughts when we didn't do anything to warrant them? Think about it. Why did you take on these thoughts? Okay? Because remember, this is your mind frame. This is your way of thinking. This is why you're attracting the kind of men that are in essence a reflection of your own father. Because you're trying to find the love that you really truly wanted within your father in these men. And what you end up attracting, you end up becoming involved with the people that have behaviors that are just like him. And the reason you stay, the reason you sustain, the reason you get so much more invested is because it's a familiar feeling to your trauma. This person decided to reject me. This person cheated on me. This person left me for someone else. This person abandoned me. So what is your natural reaction? Well, excuse me, not natural reaction, your programmed reaction. What's your programmed reaction? To continue, right? To try to grasp on because you don't want to be abandoned. Because in your mind, this person is doing me just like my dad did. This person is hurting me just like my dad did. Your dad is in your life, but is not emotionally there for you like your mom is. When you had your birthday, your dad chose work over you, and it made you and your mom try to make an excuse for it. She always does that. You know, one of the things I can, and again, you know, emotional availability is very important. Emotional availability is extremely important. When your parents show you that they are not emotionally available, again, you take that on as your problem. You take that on as being your issue, your problem. And that is not the case. Now, I, as a parent who has, you know, I would never say that I put work before my child because I worked a lot. Okay. I worked 6 days a week, working nights. And then I had to take on a second job. Where I worked 9 to 5 at one job and then 5 to midnight at the other job. Okay. And it wasn't to put my son on the back burner. It wasn't because, in fact, it was because I needed to do it because I had to make sure he was well supported. He was well taken care of. And granted, that's not an excuse because at the end of the day, as much as I worked, I always found the time to be emotionally available for my son. Always found the time. So even though I wasn't always physically around, my son knew that mom loves me. She's doing this for me. She's doing to give me what I need, what I want. So I'll never have to do without. And so I can be, you know, I can live in places that are safe. Yes, I paid a lot of money to keep my son in areas that were deemed safer, which meant you got to pay more money. Okay. I grew up in the projects most of my life. I grew up in very, very bad neighborhoods. I did not want my son to go through that. But I always made sure that my son knew of my availability, my emotional availability. Okay? Because no matter how hard you work in this world, you have to find the balance. In this case, if your father is emotionally unavailable, it's more than likely because, again, he didn't receive that emotional availability from his parents. He didn't receive it from his parents. But is he wrong? Is he wrong for it? Listen, that's something he grew up with. That was something that was instilled within him. Should he have made an effort? Absolutely. It's always, listen, it's never too late to make efforts. It's never too late to make amends with regards to these situations. But at some point, we as adults have to take accountability for our own behaviors. Okay. And he has to be, accountable for the fact that he was not emotionally there for you, especially with you being a young girl and you really needing the guidance of your father, because your dad will teach you, listen, fathers will teach their daughters how, men operate. They basically fill in that balance for with regards to relationships with men. But if you have a father who is emotionally unavailable and all you have done throughout your life was, make excuses and of course continue to try to seek his approval, but you weren't getting that, you know in hindsight of it, you're really not realizing that what you're doing is you're also setting yourself up to, have internal struggles and to ultimately fail, in any relationships. And then don't get me wrong, because as children, young people, we were all young and dumb at one point or two or three or four, times in our lives. We have to come to that point where we have to take accountability, where we can no longer sit here and say, well, my life's a shit show because of, my parents, because we always have choices and we can always choose to make different choices. Even though our parents, raised us a certain way and told us, listen, it has to be like this, it has to be like that. We take accountability for the choices that we make on our own, because at the end of the day, we don't want to treat people, obviously, we wouldn't want to treat people, the way we feel. So in other words, you wouldn't want to be emotionally unavailable towards other people, simply because that was something that your parents told you or your parents taught you. But with that same breath, you don't want to overextend yourself, because then if you do, people will take advantage of you. They'll take advantage of you, and you have a lot of people out there who are very manipulative, and they can smell it off of you. In their mind, they think it's desperation. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the emotional unavailability, yes, that's a very, very important factor. That is something that has been with you for a very long time, hence the reason why you have found yourself being in these types of relationships with these unavailable, emotionally unavailable men. Okay. But this is a point where you have come to full knowledge. You have come to full knowledge of what it is that has made you become this way. A people pleaser, constant need for validation, need for approval. You're dealing with the kind of men. You come to this, you come full circle with it. And you come into the acceptance of, okay, I don't need to live like this anymore, because I'm fully aware of why I was living like this. And once you become fully aware, now you have that fork in the road. Do you want to continue going in the same direction that you originally came from, or do you want to set your own path with the knowledge that you have? You know, Granted, my dad was emotionally unavailable. Granted, he wasn't, always there for me. He wasn't always providing for me in the way that I needed, as far as, you know, connecting with me on an emotional level. But that doesn't mean that I have to continue feeling this way about myself, because you've come into the acknowledgement that this is something that is not your fault. That is not your problem. If he has a problem being emotionally available, that has nothing to do with you. That has absolutely nothing to do with you. And with you having this knowledge, you should basically utilize it to vet people. Okay? Screen people. You know what you want. You know what you want. You know what you deserve. You know that at the end of the day, what it is that you have to offer. Now, if you come across someone, match that person's, criteria with yours. If you have a certain, if you have a certain pros and cons list, write it down. Check any boxes that you need to check. Use discernment, because at the end of the day, you can spend the rest of your life chasing after the emotional connection that you should have gotten as a child, you should have gotten throughout your life. You could do that. You can do that, but then you'll just continuously go through the same cycles with different men, but on the same on the same pattern. Or you take what you learn, you realize that I now know what I need to do to fulfill myself. I now know that it doesn't take someone else's love to make me whole, to, it doesn't take someone else's love for me to realize that I deserve it. I deserve it all. It takes your own self-love. That's all it really takes. It took me a while to understand that myself. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to make sure. My ex used to really dark, like he would talk about the devil, and my dad will say he's a devil. It's scary. He needs to stop saying that. I feel like it makes my house more dark. And I don't feel, when it boils down to it, you got to understand, guys, we're dealing with spiritual warfare. Okay, we are all dealing with spiritual warfare. We all have, demons that we all have to fight. We all have demons that we have to fight against. Okay, and the devil, as much as people may not want to believe, and it's fine, they don't have to, but clearly, look at what's going on in the world now. Look at what's going on in the world. Okay, the devil exists, evil exists, but at the end of the day, okay, God has given us the tools to protect ourselves. You have to continuously fight. It's a never-ending battle. It's a never-ending battle. It's going to continue going on. As much as social media has been out there and it's been a platform, if you notice, more and more and more accounts, more and more people are creating content, that revolve around mental health issues. Okay, narcissism, or NPD, is a mental illness. It's deemed as a mental illness. And people who have mental illness, this is what I want people to understand, because a lot of people tend to misconstrue mental illness with insanity. No, they're not the same thing. Okay, mental illness and insanity. Mental illness is something that someone may have, which there is the distortion, or there's some kind of issues within the brain, within the mind, within the thought process, or what have you, but they are fully conscious and they're fully aware of their actions. Even if what they're doing is completely wrong, they are aware. Insanity, this is why a lot of people who try to plead the insanity plea in court for murder and all this type, it doesn't fly all the time, because of the fact that if you are aware of your actions, if you are fully aware of the things that you do, you are coherent. You're not insane. People who are insane are absent, like literally absent-minded. They do not realize, they do not understand the capacity of what it is that they have committed, the crimes that they've committed, the things that they have done, which is why people who have been deemed mentally insane, they are in psychiatric wards. They may be there for the rest of their lives, but that's pretty much where they're going to stay. People who have mental illness, people who have personality disorders, okay, are fully aware of their actions. So there is none of this, oh, the devil made me do it. Oh, the dog made me do it. Oh, this person made me do it. Well, my parents abused me, and that's why I am the way I am. No, those are excuses. They're all excuses. Okay. Someone who has a mental illness, okay, can they be deemed as insane? Yes. Yes, there is that chance, there is that possibility. But when you have someone, for example, who suffers NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and nothing more, they are not deemed as insane. That they couldn't appreciate the capacity of their actions, and the pain that they've inflicted onto other people. And no, because they were fully aware. And a lot of people who commit these acts of violence, these just heinous types of acts when it comes to their relationships, they are aware of what it is they're doing. They are fully aware of what it is they're doing. And they are in hopes that you do not catch on. They're in hopes that they don't get caught. Okay? That's what they're in hopes of. Give me one second, guys. Oh, thank you, Kareem. But the reality of it all is, you know, people who are narcissists, they actually believe that they are good people. They actually don't believe that they're, you know, the things that they do have had any kind of real, like great, by great, I mean huge impact, which is why a lot of the time they'll kind of brush it off. What, you're stuck on this. It wasn't that serious, but you make it sound like, what, did you die? Like that's their response to things. Okay. Another way of looking at it is it's like this. Say you loan them, like say you loan them money, right? And they tell you, okay, I'm gonna pay you by such and such date. All right, no problem. Right? You don't give them any grief or guff or anything like that. And the due date for the money that they were supposed to pay you, they never paid you. They never came through. Then what happens? Some time goes by and you're like, listen, you said you were gonna pay me by this date and you didn't do it. So I'm just wondering what's going on. And in their mind, you have audacity to bring it up to them. What their response would be is, well, you have thousands and thousands of dollars on the bank. What difference does it make, that little measly amount that you gave to me? You understand? That's not the point. Narcissists are not people of principle. They're not people of principle. Okay. And if you bring something to their attention that puts a light onto them, a spotlight onto them in a negative way, they can become very volatile over the littlest things. The slightest form of criticism will completely shut them down or push them into a fit of rage because they cannot handle criticism. But if you noticed in dealing with them, as far as your relationship was concerned, everything that you cannot do towards a narcissist, they can do it towards you. Okay? They can do it towards you. And that was primarily the reason why I wanted to touch on triangulation, because triangulation, it was happening over time in the relationship, I'm sure. And this is, this is a way to make their target react. This is a way to make their target, extremely jealous. This is a way to make their target, their victim, compete. Okay. And this is all for the sake of stroking their ego. Stroking their ego. All right. And we've gone over, I've gone over triangulation in a lot of, a few videos, and I've done it on my website as well. Okay. But just to kind of give you the recap of it. And again, this is for anyone who's new, who catches the video on the stream. Sky, that would be a good idea. Don't feel any kind of shame or feel ashamed for wanting to express yourself. Once you have expressed yourself and you have, listen, the truth shall set you free. Okay. And oftentimes, if you're dealing with someone who's emotionally unavailable, okay, putting a mirror to their face, it could be difficult, because in their mind, if you're trying to express how you feel, someone who's emotionally unavailable has a very hard time with emotions. Okay. They find it to be very uncomfortable. All right. So it would be a good idea to wait until you are out of the house, you're living on your own, and you two can have that conversation as two adults. And listen, his response, it may or may not surprise you, but at the end of the day, getting your word in edgewise and just expressing how you feel, that's a big weight lifted off of you. That's a big weight lifted off of you, because once you make him aware and he acknowledges your feelings, and he acknowledges the impact that he has had in your life, now he's going to be stuck with the choice of trying to either redeem himself, trying to maybe, make things right, okay, or try to work on things to be the dad that you've always needed, to be the dad that you needed. Or he could simply brush it off, ignore it, and at least at the end of the day, no matter which way he goes, you can come to some form of peace within yourself, because at least you got to say what you needed to say about it. And you got to get that off of your chest. And like I said, moving forward, understand his level of emotional unavailability, not your problem. Okay? Not your problem, has absolutely nothing to do with you. Mary says, so true, Erica. It's too difficult to talk to people who never experienced this abuse. Their response, like my dad, was, well, did he hit you? That's not the point. Many people do not understand this abuse. A lot of people don't, because people have been conditioned to believe that abuse, they correlate abuse with physical abuse, okay, physical injury. And you have so many different forms of abuse. You have abuse of power, abuse of authority, okay? You have, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, okay? Abuse is simply the term that is used when someone is utilizing manipulation to have personal gain. When you abuse people or abuse a situation, essentially that is going to result in having a personal gain by any means necessary. Okay? So when people tell you, oh, well, he didn't put his hands on you, so I don't consider it abuse. Listen, those are the kind of people who clearly are very ignorant to how this, how relational abuse works. And at the end of the day, I would strongly advise that if people who you have gone to, who you've tried to confide in, you have tried to express to them, this is what's been going on. If they do nothing but invalidate you and invalidate your feelings, and your experience, invalidate your experience, then these are the kind of people that you need to keep a distance. Just need to keep a distance from them. Okay? Because that's part of the problem. That is part of the problem. There are so many different forms of abuse under so many different circumstances, and a lot of people, hi Millie, a lot of people do not understand. What people do when they don't understand something, or they just kind of run with the crowd because, if the crowd over here says, oh, she wasn't abused, he never put his hands on her. People who don't understand what you have gone through, they're going to run with that crowd. They're going to side with that crowd. And oftentimes people try to avoid things they don't understand. They try to avoid it because what you have gone through, what a lot of you have gone through, narcissistic abuse is not just, it's simply not something you can get over overnight. It's not, and you are going to ruminate about it. You're going to constantly have questions, because when you have a question and then that question is answered, it brings you to another question, and then another, and then, because you're trying to understand. Listen, with traditional breakups, right? Okay, traditional breakups, it's pretty cut and dry. Wouldn't you agree? Right? If you found your person cheating on you with somebody else, okay, that person is just, it's just an a-hole or whatever, or whatever the case may be. You got your confirmation, you go your way, they go theirs. All right? Or if the person is upfront and honest and says, hey, listen, I just don't want to be in this relationship anymore, whatever the case may be, again, it's cut and dry. You go your way, they go their way. Narcissistic abuse is extremely different. And it's extremely different because you are, first of all, being gaslit. So you're being heavily confused. You're being heavily manipulated. Okay? You're being manipulated to believe that, one, everything that transpired in your relationship was not only your fault because you made them do it, you made them act the way they did, but you, on top of that, for everyone else, you were in fact the abuser. That's what's being said. That's what's being told. That is what is being impressed. Okay? Now, in the interim of your relationship, you're traumatically bonded. And what is trauma bonding? Trauma bonding is that toxic connection that is sustained. That means being, locked in with reward and punishment behavior. Okay? That's also another level of gaslighting and confusion. Okay? Coupled with deflection. So you're dealing with someone who has extreme mood swings. Okay? Extreme mood swings, is volatile 1 minute, punishing you, okay, treating you like dirt, making you feel this small, and then coming with lovey-dovey, love bombing bullshit the next minute. And it's a back and forth thing. Now, these are things that people who don't understand what they don't see. Okay? It's back and forth. All right? Which prompts you to do what? To do better. Because they've already deflected onto you. Well, my behavior is because of you. My behavior, how I'm speaking with you, how I'm treating you. Hi, Cicely. Hi, sweetie. How I'm speaking to you, how I am treating you is because you make me do these things. You make me act out. If you would just listen to me, if you would just see it from my perspective, if you would just comply with me, if you would just enable me, then I wouldn't get pissed off at you. That's what it translates to. Okay? So now you've had deflection, you've had gaslighting, you've had trauma bonding. You're dealing with all of that. Okay? You're trying to do better. You're trying to be better. You're trying to listen. You are trying every sex move they ever wanted to ever try, because what do? They watch porn and they think that that's ideal. They think that is what love is about. Okay? A lot of them like to watch pornography. Okay. And listen, who here hasn't watched it? Okay. We're being 100 with each other. Who here hasn't watched it? Every single one of us has been there. But these types of people, okay, may have porn addiction, okay, and they've probably watched it at a very young age, extremely young age, and they have, okay, embedded in their own mind that this is how sex should be. This is how love making should be. This is how it is. Okay. Unless, of course, one side of the spectrum, you have the sex addicts, but on the other side of the spectrum, you may be dealing with the kind of narcissistic men that suffer impotence. Yes, a lot of them do. And that's primarily due to the emasculation that they have dealt with throughout most of their lives. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now you are in your relationship and you're jumping through all kinds of hoops. You're people pleasing. You're trying to make them happy. You're trying to do better. You're trying to be better. Why? Because they've already deflected onto you that what you are doing is not sufficient enough. They've already deflected onto you that their poor behavior was because of you. It was your fault. Okay. So now you're trying to go beyond the extra mile. All right. And then all to be brought down to, once you've been doing all of this and you've been trying to project as much good behaviors, you've been walking on eggshells, you have been doing everything you possibly could do to make that person happy, to make that person feel good. And like I said, guys, it doesn't only go for romantic relationships. Family members are just as bad. Okay. After everything that you have done, all to be dragged down, okay, off your pedestal, dragged down, that to the point where they're looking down their nose at you, that they are looking at you like, oh, you're pitiful. You are so pitiful. Okay. You want me. You will do anything to keep me. You will do anything to keep me in your life, even though I am treating you like crap and I'm giving you the bare minimum. Okay. And guys, anybody who's ever suffered codependency, anyone who has ever suffered abandonment issues, I'm going to tell you right now, take notes of this, because this is primarily the reason why a lot of us, especially us, codependents, I'm an ex-codependent, but still, I still claim what I was. A lot of us beg for them not to leave. A lot of us beg for them to tell us, what do we need to do to change ourselves? What do I have to do to make myself better for you, to make you happy? What do I have to do? Oh, there's just nothing you can do. Oh, no, I'm just not, you don't make me happy. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't make me feel good about myself. You don't make me, you don't give me that feeling like you once gave me. And the reality of it is, guys, is that it was never your responsibility to do that. But you automatically took that on. You took on that responsibility. You took on that responsibility because at the time when you were together, listen, these people have very low self-esteem. Don't let the front fool you. Please don't let the front fool you. Okay? Because as egotistical as they are, as self-centered as they may be, as much as they sit there thinking, hey, I'm God's gift to men, or I'm God's gift to women, whatever the case may be, their egos are very fragile and their insecurities are beyond this world. Hence the reason why they would always get jealous if they saw someone either of the opposite sex or same sex, whichever way you flow, okay, flirting with you, giving you any kind of attention, because it threatened their supply. It threatened the relationship. And it didn't threaten in your eyes. It didn't threaten your relationship. It did not, it would never have put you in a position to cheat on them, to do anything to them. But that is an automatic defense mechanism for them. If someone of the opposite sex was talking to you and that person was complimenting you, the person that you were dealing with, no doubt, would get severely jealous and even sit there and accuse you. They would sit there and accuse you. Oh, so you sleeping with that person? You dealing with that person? That person's calling you handsome. That person's calling you beautiful. Oh, did you ever mess around with them? Huh? Like they will, their insecurities get the best of them. And mind you, someone could just easily just be giving you a nice compliment. But because they don't want you to have self-esteem, they don't want you to feel confident in any way, shape, or form, because they want you to be down here. They will deflect onto you. And they may even project anger. They'll project volatility, where to the point where they're like extremely, you may even get scared, like, okay, you know what? I don't. Amanda. I'm gonna try my best not to hold on a second, guys. Amanda. Dude. Yes, and it's on video.
Tired.
Really? My goodness. Yes, Sky. Yes, she is. Can you believe that?
I'm tired.
¿Qué cojones tú tienes? Ah? Because you the only one who's tired, right?
I know you're tired. I know.
I don't believe that. Never in a million years.
Oh, gosh.
No, she won't hear the end of it either. She won't hear the end of it either. Mary, oh my God, Erica, crazy how we all experience this. It's insane how much they're all the same dysfunction. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as if they all were cut from the same cloth. They were all cut from the same, from just the same prototype. It's like someone went into maybe a lab and just, cloned the first narcissistic person, and it's like they're just walking the face of the earth. And it's really sad. What's really sad is that these people, okay, because listen, guys, at the end of the day, they are who they are, but these people really could have had the potential to be better. They really could have, and part of it, I'm not blaming all of it, but part of it has to do with their upbringing. It has to do with the people who have raised them, who have brought them up into this world, because this is ingrained behavior. This is not something that happens overnight. You don't just become a narcissist or extremely narcissistic overnight. You don't. And I want to help you guys understand something else too. I'm pretty sure, even though there is no excuse for it, a lot of you have probably dealt with people who were victims of narcissistic abuse at the hands of another narcissist, who have not done the healing. Because I've explained this before. I've explained that people who have not healed from narcissistic abuse often display behaviors of someone who suffers PTSD, and comparing the two, it's the actions are very, very similar. They're very similar. You're dealing with paranoia, you're dealing with jealousy, you're dealing with insecurity, you're dealing with emotional manipulation. People who are victims of narcissistic abuse, yes, they can fall into that trap of emotionally manipulating people just to feel safe, to feel comfortable enough within the dynamic, because they are afraid, they are scared. Oftentimes, and this might blow some people's minds, and I'm not invalidating anyone, because you experience what you experience, which is why I say don't focus on the title, focus more on the behaviors and the patterns. But you could have also experienced narcissistic abuse, okay, because it's derivative. You could let's go one further, just abuse, because it doesn't have to be narcissistic. It could be emotional abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse. But you could have experienced this form of abuse from someone who is suffering, more than just PTSD. It could be someone who suffered borderline personality disorder, or someone who suffers ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. Someone who has severe issues. You have people that have what is it called? Avoidant attachment disorder. I mean, you have so many different types of disorders, but at the end of the day, you always have to basically look for the red flags. Always look for patterns and behaviors. Always, if you see something going in a familiar direction, no, I'm not touching this. I'm not touching this. I'm not going through this. Well, listen, you don't know me. Don't judge me until you really know me. That was what the last person told me. That was what the last person told me. This is a little too familiar for me, and something, I just do not want to go. I'm not going to go down that road again. I'm really not. Exactly. Exactly, Mary. Absolutely. There's a reason why. There's a reason we're narc magnets until we address what we haven't been able to face from the past. And that's exactly why it's important that anyone who has survived these types of relationships, it's important to do trauma healing. It's important to get the help that you need. Therapy is extremely important. Okay. Self love. Put all that love that you put into these people, put that into yourself. Put that into yourself. Okay. If anyone's going to disappoint you, let it be yourself. Don't let it be someone else. Don't let it be someone else, especially someone else who took advantage, who managed to project all of this onto you, knew what they were doing. They knew they were pushing you away. They knew that they were hurting you. They knew, I didn't even get to touch triangulation, but they knew these things. They knew these things. Okay. And as far as I guess maybe next week I'll touch the subject of triangulation. But in the meantime, I definitely want you guys to please, on my blog, on my website, narcsurvival101.com, the most recent blog that I did is Narcissistic Abuse. I put a lot of thought into it, and I just wanted to, because I know a lot of you know. I know a lot of you know. I know a lot of you understand, but I want you to feel the full comprehension of what you have experienced, and remind yourself that this disorder did not start with you. Okay? And anything that went on in that relationship, whatever you may have contributed as far as enabling is concerned, as far as, anything on your end that you have to take accountability for, you do that. But you are not to take accountability for someone who deflects their poor behaviors onto you. No, do not do that. Do not for a second believe that that person cheating on you, or that person, you know, uh, putting their hands on you, or that person, tearing you down was a result of something you did or something you said. No, that was not the case. Yes, and I would like my book back too. Hi, Butch.
Where's the book? I mean, it's on the floor. I'm tired.
They saw it for themselves. I'm not an abusive
I
person.
saw it.
Man, listen. And guys, I'm working on some more paintings. Just so you know, I'm going to be working on some more paintings for the giveaway. I already have a few people that I do have in mind that I want to just give paintings, paintings to. No, I'm not committing favoritism or anything like that. But there have been some people who have been a part of this journey, who've been a part of this channel for quite some time. And it's just something that I want to, just express as far as my gratitude is concerned. But I am still working on other art pieces so I can resume the giveaway. I have not been able to generate the list yet because I have work. It's been crazy. But oh, we miss you too, Butch. We miss you too. Cicely, trust me, none of us do. None of us do. And something, thankfully, with everything we learn, we don't have to ever deal with it again. We don't have to deal with it again, because we know what to do. We know now what not to do. We know how to address certain things. And the one thing I always say is do not be afraid to open up. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. Okay? Don't be afraid to tell people, listen, you're wrong. Even at the risk of losing them, because if you express yourself and that person gets, offended, or they feel like they need to get aggressive, then you know where you stand with them. You definitely know where you stand with them. Oh, Mary, I would love that. I would so love that. And you know what's interesting, guys? I have StreamYard, right? And I can invite, I think, what is it, up to 10 people?
Yeah.
Or, we could do it on the Skype meet. We could do it on the Skype meet. I would love to do that. Have like I always wanted to do the sip and paint, but yeah, that would be awesome. And painting, guys, is so therapeutic. It really, really is. Like I have a few more pieces here that I did work on. I mean, I'm still like currently working on them, but like if you see here, this is one of them, right? The beach. I did this one, you know. It's so therapeutic, and it's just a lot of fun. You just sit there, I like to listen to movies or TV shows in the background, but oh yeah, absolutely. And guys, this is freestyling. Like I don't, I watch tutorials on YouTube. I watch painting tutorials, and I just, I go according to whatever colors, whatever they show. And this is actually one of my favorites because it looks like, it actually looks like professionally done, but no, it was me. It was me. I'm not a professional, but I love to. Thank you, Millie. I love to just, express. And so far, I've already sent out for people who have won in my giveaways. I've already sent them out. So we're getting back on it, guys. I'm getting back on it for you guys so I can send, I want everybody to win or at least get, something. So I will keep everybody in mind for it. I can imagine. That's what I want to do. I want to go to a sip paint. Don't they have one in the city?
Yeah, they have them in the cities.
Thank you, Cicely. Thank you. I'm still working on it, and guys, I'm still, in my classes. It's very tiring, but I'm getting there. I am getting there. Okay. And I'm gonna keep going until I fully get there and I am who the hell's gonna give me a degree? Who's gonna give me a degree in psychology? They're gonna be like, are you sure you're not the one who needs the psychologist? But it will be legit. I will make sure it's legit. But I definitely, guys, we'll go over we will go over the triangulation thing because there were a lot of points that I wanted to make until a certain somebody distract them. I totally lost my train of thought. Can't believe she fell asleep.
I took a nap.
Oh, Millie, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. I'm glad I could be a part of your lives, guys, and I'm glad you guys can be a part of mine. I know that there usually are more people here, but I know that sometimes they can't always attend, and that's perfectly fine. I do TikTok lives on Tuesdays. Um, my content, my channel is devoted solely for narc abuse survival. If you are, I would like to take on a couple of more moderators. So if you do have a TikTok account, and it will be solely for that purpose, just for narc abuse survival. I don't post, anything personal up there. I don't do, it's just solely for the cause, solely for the purpose. And usually on the TikTok lives, a lot of people join on there. And I mean, I have Amanda, I have Stella as my moderator. I have a couple of them, but I could always use more because, the more you dig in and the more you try to reveal truth, the more there are going to be a lot of trolls coming in. And before I end up getting my account banned, I prefer to just let my moderators take on and just boot them out. I don't want to. I'm trying so hard to just keep it nice and serene, and relaxed. And if you guys notice, I haven't been cursing as much lately, so that's always a good thing. That's always a good thing. I threw a book at you because you fell asleep during the live. Like, who does that?
Books and stuff. Now you don't choke.
Okay.
Throw things.
Okay. Thank you, Cicely. Thank you. I'm so sorry I came late, guys, and I would stay on more, but I'm exhausted too. I'm extremely exhausted. I am exhausted.
Little stuff that you watch.
Okay. But I would never fall asleep during your live if you ever did one. Now would I? No. Exactly. Exactly. And guys, if you have a 3-day weekend, Monday is Columbus Day. So if you're not working, I hope you guys have enjoyed your 3-day weekend. Unfortunately, I don't have a 3-day weekend. I do have to work on Monday, but it's all gravy. More than likely, it'll be kind of quiet. So, we'll see how it goes. Mary, if you want to do both, I can always use, usually the YouTubes, I mean, even though the lives, because it really depends on the time. And like I said, my YouTube lives used to be on Tuesdays, and then I moved it to Fridays. And, often it depends on like the amount of traffic. But TikTok, I would definitely need it because a lot of people, on TikTok, I have 40,000 followers there. And you have a lot of people who enter the live that are not following the channel. You have a lot of people who do. And it becomes so overwhelming, and I try so hard to answer people, but it also gives you the opportunity to interact with people, like answer questions. So like if I miss a question, I usually, I trust my moderators and I rely on them to, give the correct information and just pretty much help the person through. But if you do have an account on there, please, it's Narc Survival at Narc Survival 101. I can always use more moderators because it helps weed out the people that are trying to, interfere with other people's healing process. And again, it gives you the opportunity to talk to people. Like you have a lot of people in there who are victims and survivors, and they are just seeking answers. And I often, with my moderators, everybody's had their experience. I often tell them, just treat them with kid gloves. You've been through the experience, you know what it feels like, the emotional roller coaster, and you're probably at a level up here while you have a lot of people who are still down here. So they can definitely use your guidance. Oh, Macmean, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, and let me know. I mean, you can just, if you want to just use it for that purpose, I go live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, if you want to just do it for that. I watch for the dog videos and the baby videos, though. I'm not gonna lie, like I love animals and I love babies, so there are a lot of funny videos, but my channel is solely for narc abuse survival. And it will, yeah, absolutely, Mary. And if you're able to, to do it, I mean, if you're on board with it, I'll be more than glad to have you on board with me. Hold on 1 second. I don't know. I didn't hit her with the book, guys. Just so you know, I didn't hit her with the book.
Close.
I did not hit you with the book.
Close.
I threw the book in her direction,
first?
but I threw my piece from my microphone, by the way, which is somewhat.
Well, if it's lost, it's not my fault.
Okay, at least I didn't throw the scissors. I didn't throw anything else in her. Have a good night, Millie, and I'll see you on Tuesday, sweetheart. Guys, thank you so very much for being here with me tonight. Next week I'll definitely we'll have a more full force live. I promise you. I need to get some rest. I do, because I'm so exhausted. But I'm just so glad that you guys were able to make it tonight and you were able to be a part of it. And this is gonna go on the it's gonna go on YouTube. It's also streaming on Facebook. So if you have any questions, if you need to reach out to me, narcsurvival101@gmail.com. Also, guys, just to let you know, because if you go to the website, I do have I'm working on some books. I'm working on a Survivor Chronicle. I sent the book so far to a couple of people. I'm just waiting for them to let me know because it's like I think it's 6 chapters of the book that I first started on. It's still in a rough draft, but if you're interested in reading the book, please let me know. You can email me and I'll email you the rough draft of it. Okay, but just so you know, the book is rated MA, mature audience, and it is 18 or older. Please, 18 or older. Okay, so if you are interested in reading it, then please shoot me an email and I'll be more than glad to send it to you. Have a good night. Marissa. I'm gonna call you Mary. I hope you don't mind. I'll call you Mary because I don't want to butcher anybody's name. But thank you for being here tonight, sweetheart. I fact checked a lot of things I hear, but you helped me understand and overstand a textbook narc. I didn't even know I was being abused. And Macmean, I'm so glad that I can be very transparent with you and I can I could just give it to you straight. That's how I like to do it. Just give it to you straight, tell you what it is, and let you know, especially, for the men, I don't know what it is to be a female narcissist, but being as I'm so opposite one, I spent a lot of time not only researching, but studying females of this nature, like literally studying them. And I'm not even like close to them like that, And I'm just so glad that I can help you to understand. And it's more so to build your confidence up too, build up your confidence. It's to help you realize your self-love is important and that, something, you are so much more than what these people ever can possibly try to claim that you are. Okay. So you got this. And, I'm always here. If you ever need to reach out, if you ever need to, any developments or what have you, I'm here, sweetie. I'm here. Okay, it ain't that serious now. But guys, my loves, my family, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for being part of the journey. As always, you guys are awesome. You're amazing people. And I thank you so much for your love and support. For those who could not make it, but will catch it on the stream, I still love you always. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, guys. Really do. Stay safe out there. Okay. Stay safe. Be blessed. Be happy. Live life, and just keep stay the course. Stay the course. Thank you so much for that, Mac. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the spreading of the awareness. That means a lot to me. Cicely, have a good night, sweetheart. Marisha, okay. Okay, because I'm like, I don't like butchering people's names. I like to make sure I'm saying it right. Thank you so much for being here tonight, sweetheart. Ty. Amanda, can you block that person, please? Ty, thank you for being here. Butch, I know Stella wasn't here today, but Stella, I love you anyways, always. Thank you so much for all you do. Everyone else, thank you so much for the love. Thank you just for being here. You truly are amazing. I will see you all next week, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Promise we'll have a better live with more educational stuff. And I actually wanted to also talk about, besides triangulation, guys, I want to talk about avoidant attachment. I want to talk about that too. So we'll definitely, I'll write some notes down for it for next week. Love you all, guys. Have a beautiful weekend. Love, peace, God's blessings, protection, all that good stuff. You already know how it goes. I will see you all next week. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Keep the guards up too. Good night, guys.